Hi guys, so now in my Persona, and so last month, okay, this car went in for a service, a minor service, to coincide with its what, 2.5 year mark. Now this car, all right, is a relatively low mileage unit for its age. Typically the service intervals prescribed are 6 months or 10,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. So thus far in all our period of ownership, we have only ever serviced this car to 6-month interval as opposed to 10,000 kilometer interval, simply because we always take a lot more than 6 months to cover 10,000 kilometers. So at that time, all right, 2.5 years, that was the 2.5 year mark, and the mileage, the expected mileage at that time for a typical car would have been 50,000 kilometers, but instead I brought this car in at 24,000 kilometers. Yeah, so this car mechanically, it is half its age, half its typical expected mileage, but still, because of the timing, we service this car according to the 50,000 kilometer regime, right? So what did we change? Very minor stuff: engine oil filter, air filter, fuel filters, and spark plugs. That was about it. So total cost, all right, inclusive of labor and fully synthetic Petronas oil, was just a tad under 400 ringgit. So that was good, right? But of course, bear in mind also, before that, a couple of months before that, I had already sent this car into COE to make warranty claims, to change the coolant, to change the radiator, to change the thermostat. Right? So yeah, that was so means that the coolant change was accelerated and thus was therefore skipped for this maintenance. Then again, moving forward, I'm thinking already that whether or not the service prescribes it, I will be having the coolant changed at yearly intervals, and I will have the thermostat checked by the same frequency, right? So that time I also got the technicians to check the battery, okay, because if you remember an earlier video of mine, 9 months ago, I changed a new battery for this car, and surprisingly now it's already feeling weak. All right, it is that the symptoms are very clear. One, when you start the car, typically when you start the car, right, the instrument cluster will light up like a Christmas tree. So a strong battery, the lights, the warning lights, all will switch off very fast, almost immediately after you start the car. But with a weak battery, those warning lights take a bit longer to switch off. Yeah, so that was what I observed with this car, and I got them to do a battery voltage check, and true enough, the battery is weak after just what, 9 months. So keeping my eyes on that. Probably going to, if I find the time, I'm just going to go to the shop and ask them to check and see if I can do a warranty claim. But that's a separate video for a separate occasion. Okay, yeah. So after that came the Saga's turn. Now, this Saga was featured in an earlier video of mine, where we brought the car to Wern's for a bit of body and paint work. So this Saga used to belong to my wife. Then after, when we bought this Persona, my wife then passed the car to her sister, which is my sister-in-law, and she uses it for relatively short commutes. So one day she came and tell me that, say, hey, the what you call it, there's a bit of sound at high speeds, weird sound at high speeds, droning sounds. So okay lor, I took the car for a test drive, and I didn't even need to hit 60-80 kilometers per hour, and the droning sound was there. And my first suspicion was that it was an indicator of wheel bearing failure. Guys, here's a tip: if you hear a droning sound coming from your axles, don't mess about. Send your car in for service center immediately, because a friend of mine discovered to quite considerable cost the consequences of ignoring the signs of a failing wheel bearing. His wheels came off. Yup. So yeah, don't mess about it. If you hear that droning sound, it means that your wheel bearing is about to fail, but you have that droning sound is the start of an ample warning interval, so you have time to send it to the workshop and get it changed, but don't wait too long. So overall costing for the Persona, as I mentioned earlier, was about 400 bucks. The Saga, right, to replace one wheel bearing, the right rear wheel bearing, that cost 200 ringgit inclusive of labor. Problem solved. Okay, so now this Persona, 1 month, it's been a month since I last serviced, since the service. Well, the car still drives all right. I neglected to ask them to tighten all the suspension arms and all that, so yeah, I should have done that. I did it the previous service, but this time around I forgot to do it. I should make it a habit, really, right? Every time whenever you service your car, they will check your car anyway. Just tell them, tighten all the suspension joints, makes your car feel better immediately. Yeah, so that's something I should have done. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so lastly, now we come to the good old Waja. So on the same day that I sent the Saga in for the wheel bearing job, I also sent in the Waja for its regular service as well. But the day before that, alright, I actually took this car to the exhaust shop. Now, what happened was that for a good couple of months leading up to this, before this, right, the Waja has had the booming sound coming from the exhaust just didn't sound right. To me, it sounded like, it sounds like there was something that is jammed inside the muffler. You know, there's something restricting the flow of air, of exhaust gas in the muffler. But actually, it turns out that after taking it to an exhaust shop, corner exhaust shop in PJSS3, recommended by Chris Wee, it turns out that what went wrong was that the exhaust piping, the middle piping of the exhaust, there was a leak. All right, there was a leak about this long, so about 2 or 3 inches long lah. So what they did was that they replaced the middle pipe. Now, if I had brought this car back to a Proton official service center, they would have had to replace the whole thing, all right, from just in front of the muffler right up to the cat converter there. So that would have added unnecessary cost. But this one, what it is that they cut the middle pipe just after the cat con and welded it to join. All right, so it's a new stainless steel pipe that is less likely to crack than the one before. Then at the same time, because sometime last year, somebody gently nudged the rear end of this car. Didn't cause any damage, but it did dislodge the exhaust tip. So yeah, so then what happens is that the tip at that time was like one naked metal pipe and with some rust edges there. So I took the decision to just replace the muffler as well. And well, I've always wanted to give this car a twin tailpipe look, so I picked up a stainless steel twin tailpipe look that looks almost similar to the exhaust tip of the Waja CPS as well as the Waja 1.8. Alright, so yeah, very satisfied with the look of the car, and also ever since after following that the installation of the new exhaust, the engine now seems to have gained a new lease of life. You know, it's just a bit more eager to rev. It pulls a bit more willingly. All right, so yeah, so very happy with that. And actually right now I'm at a stage where I'm actually very pleased with this. I'm again pleased with the way this car is driving. Is like I've redeveloped a newfound appreciation for this car's driving characteristics. I have not been driving this car as often as I would like. Okay, not because I've been spending too much time in the E39, but rather the past 1 month I've actually been nursing an injury to my left ankle. So yeah, I've been driving this car very sparingly, like for just a short trip, for maybe a short trip, once a week, that kind of thing, just to keep the engine running. So yeah, this car has been very underutilized for the past 1 month. But now that my chiropractor has advised me that it's that my recovery is well underway and it's time to reintroduce some exercise back into my left leg, so here I am back driving this car as well. I'm going to put in a bit more miles into this, all right, over the next couple of weeks or so. So then now coming back to the that exhaust, all right, total cost for the middle pipe right up to the new muffler, 560 ringgit inclusive of labor. Okay, not too bad actually. So then now comes the servicing. Now for servicing, this one is once again just a minor service: oil change, change the air filter, change the oil filter, and also change the spark plugs. So together with labor, now because I have to clarify, the engine oil, fully synthetic Shell, I've put in a can of Shell Helix fully synthetic oil in there, which I obtained, well, as a free gift from an earlier event. So that one I didn't have to pay for it. So total cost of this service was about just north of 200 ringgit. I'm flashing the detailed breakdown of the costing on the screen right now and in the description section below, so read up. And yeah, so if I were to have paid for my own engine oil, this service would have cost me in the region of 400 bucks. So all in, yeah, I got the 3 Protons in my household patched up, remember, all the maintenance and all that, for what total cost? The Petronas bill was just over 200, right? No, sorry, Petronas bill was just over 400 because I had to pay for my own engine oil. So 400 for the Persona, 200 for the Saga, that's 600. Waja here, 560 for the exhaust, plus another 200, 220 for the overall servicing work. So added up, it's less than 1,400 ringgit to do up all 3 of my cars. So yeah, having gotten accustomed to spending 1,000 over ringgit, 2,000 ringgit for every time when I send my E39 for maintenance, this is actually quite a welcome surprise, being able to fix 3 cars for less than 1,400 ringgit. So yeah, so right now the car usage patterns in my house, the Saga that I mentioned earlier, that's my sister-in-law's car, used for day-to-day daily driving for her to go to work and come back. Then the Persona now is quite underutilized because my wife is not currently working. So yeah, I mean, like, when the whole time I was in Japan for 4 days, I was in Japan for the Mazda 3 drive. Yeah, my wife only used the car less than 100 kilometers. So that car is very, very underutilized, and really only service follow time one. Then the Waja here, so the Waja here and the E39, these days I alternate, right? Every 2 or 3 days I alternate between these 2 cars. I'll park 1 car at my mother's house and 1 car at my house, and every 2 days I'll just go to my mother's house and swap cars. So yeah, that's the usage pattern of my car. And now I've got a bit of clear highway. Let me just treat you to the sound of the exhaust. So I'm at 4,500, pulling. Yep, there is a new sense of eagerness to this engine. Very slight, but it's there. And yeah, the format, the exhaust shop tells me that to expect a slight booming sound, because I told the fella I don't want a noisy exhaust. So he told me that this exhaust, this muffler would give me the kind of sound that is similar to the old Proton V6, and thus far I must say that I really like the way it sounds and pulls. It sounds rather nice. Yesterday I just went to visit Chris V to drop something off his house. He tells me that from the outside, car sounds terrific. So yeah, overall very happy with the money I've spent on these 3 cars for now.